What a shame for the home team. Now coming onto the pitch to replace Colin Cooper, Bruce Hemmerer, the hooker who played against Cardiff on Saturday. Where's he going to fit in? He's going onto one of the flanks for the time being. Baker will go to number 8. Nelson will complete the back row. But it's not an ideal situation for the tourists, especially as Lane and Maesteg have the put-in. Maesteg grouping on the right in strength. They've got 4 men over here. That's Ian Hall. Phil Phillips trying to straighten the line. Can he get across himself? Oh, yes! Maesteg's captain, Phil Phillips, scores the first try against the New Zealand Maoris on this tour. Pancho gets the try. It took tremendous strength to get across the line, plus a little bit of a dummy to throw the defence. And the net result is that for the second time this afternoon, the Old Parish are in the lead.
Well, it was possibly the injury to Cooper which has confused the Maoris here in the defence. There's some good interplay by the Maesteg backs. Phil Phillips does very, very well. We see the switch here to shake off the tackle. But of course, although credit must go to him for his strength and his tenacity, it was possibly the fact that Imara, as hooker, playing out of position in the back row, contributed to that try.
There's the scorer, Phil Phillips. He spent a lot of the first part of the season suffering from injury, couldn't lead his team, but that's more than made up for it. Ian Hall's attempt to add the extra points, 11 metres from touch. Kicking towards the massed Maori support at the southern end of the ground. That's bad luck. So the lead stays at 4 points. And Ian Hall, who's kicked the gun well and faded at the end. Just before that try was scored by Maesteg, it seemed that the Maoris were guilty of more looseness in their play. A reckless attempt at a scissors move close to their 22 more or less helped Maesteg into a strong position, and the Maoris had to pay for it. That's Hall's dropout. Maesteg's turn to live a little dangerously. Their scrum half, Lane, trying to come away, and the Maoris robbing him or preventing him making any advance. The tourists have now used up their replacements. The man on the right, Carl Baker, is one of them, and just coming beside him is Bruce Hemmerer, the second replacement. Blake to Wiley. Kurirangi infield. This is Phil Phillips, Maesteg's captain, tidying up for his side and clearing well after that determined drive by Carl Baker. The touch flag is up. Inside Maori territory by 4 or 5 metres. The referee blowing them offside at the line-out. Billy Bush, skippering the side, has brought up number 15, Andy Baker, and he has called a kick at goal. And let me tell you that he's a little good way into Maori half. 7 metres or so. Gareth Edwards, he had a miss from 1/10 of this range in the first half.
He's probably obviously trying to make up for it, but of course, even if it doesn't quite make the posts, then of course it can take a big chunk of territory away from Maesteg, and therefore that's probably what he's got in mind.
I must say the Valley looks at its very best this afternoon, doesn't it?
That's right, but of course this could be a tremendous psychological blow for Maesteg if he can kick this from this distance.
Twenty-six-year-old Andy Baker then from Waikato. Can Baker just cut the deficit a little? It's asking a lot of him. Not a bad kick. Straight as a die, and it'll deserve applause. Not quite enough strength. Maesteg scoring try for try with the Maoris, and in the lead now 10-6 by virtue of their 2 penalty goals kicked by their standoff Ian Hall, and scoring the second tour try scored against the Maoris. 10-6. Billy Bush, number 1, the Maori skipper this afternoon in the absence of Paul Quinn, packing against Peter Francis, Maesteg, and making life hot for him. And the penalty goes against the Maesteg pack for collapsing. And it looks as if this time the Maoris are going to do what they're better at. Oh, I thought they were going to run the ball, but it's to be a kick and goal. So this time the distance for Andy Baker, their fullback, allowing for the angle would be around 40 metres. And we thank the Maesteg Rugby Club for this new vantage point for our cameras. Andy Baker. Not his day. Lauder making life very difficult for himself. Jinking away from the goal line. Lane's kick almost charged down. Victor Simpson, 13 for the Maoris, can't quite get his hands on it. Number 13, the centre, Victor Simpson, Canterbury. So back comes this pressure from the tourists inside Maesteg 22 area. Jeff Pope's strike is good. The Maesteg pack gave their all, and the clearance goes in. Borovich is at the front for the Maoris. One is Bush, Tuoro's behind him. And then we reach Rickett. Throwing in O'Carroll. This is Pokeri. Blake. Pokeri went outside him, but his hands let him down. There may be some advantage for Maesteg, thinks the referee. That's Victor Simpson covering. Halfway line. Jeff Pope aims long for Mike Griffiths. Lane couldn't gather, and Billy Bush, the Maori skipper this afternoon, goes driving through as far as the 22 together with Carl Baker. They lay it back. Tuoro sends it to Blake. Blake can't quite see the avenue through, kicks towards the corner flag. It's teasing and dangerous, and Lane gets back to cover for Maesteg. Touch very close to that corner flag. On the right, steeply angled back, the Maori backs three-quarter line. This is a situation where the forwards in particular will have to mark every man at the line. It's on their goal line. On the right, O'Carroll picks his man. Rickett gets higher than anyone else. Tuoro comes to help him, but the Maesteg pack drive them away a little. The Maoris win possession. That's Victor Simpson cutting back to about 3 meters from the Maesteg line. That's good usable ball, and Borovic goes for the goal line. Carl Baker's very close to him. The backs want the ball again. O'Carroll's going round to try and help the forward momentum. These are desperate moments for the old parish. This time it's Blake. Can he get to ground, or can Maesteg hold him up? The referee can't see enough to award the try. Absolutely heroic defence by Maesteg. What he has awarded over the side touch, he'd been playing advantage. There'd been an infringement by Maesteg. It's a penalty award, and they're going to run the ball. Little chip ahead by Pokeri. Could be a try for Woodman. Kofina Woodman scores a try for the Maoris to level the scores at 10-10. But it's out near the flag, and it may be a hard one to convert. Certainly a try stemming directly from immense Maori pressure on the Maesteg goal line inside the 22.
Yes, and this is the way that it happened with Pokeri, with a deft little kick again. But of course we've seen this on previous New Zealand tours with Brian Williams, the chaser or the kicker, and of course the ball going away from the Maesteg defence, and the pre-arranged tactical ploy which worked excellently for the Maoris.
So just a little of the exuberation has evaporated here at Maesteg. You can feel the crowd is suddenly quieter. Can Andy Baker make it worth 6? Again, he's off target. Remains at 10-10.
And it may be very interesting if we have a little view at that try again later on in the programme, because there's a lot of confusion about this obstruction in midfield, because it seemed at one time as if Pokeri had quite a lot of time to get that kick in, whereas really the Maesteg defence was up very, very quick on him, and it'll be very interesting to see if it shows up on camera.
Here's Ian Hall, stopping out with 17 minutes of the match left. That's Blake's kick, up as far as Steve Brown. The fullback coming forward. Giving the ball to Peter Francis, driving across the Maori's 10-metre line. All action from Maesteg. David Edwards was there, David Arthur was there. Maesteg showing the Maoris they can't relax for 1 second in this needle game. Some attention needed out on the touchline over there. Billy Bush slightly shielded from our view. There he is, wearing number 1, gathering his forwards around him while the injury is treated. Who's going to last the pace through to the end of the game, Gareth Edwards?
Well, it seems that every 2 minutes the pattern of the game seems to be changing. Just as Maesteg seem to be out on a limb, they come back with a charge run. So this may be an opportunity for Billy Bush to summon his forwards to greater demands and see if they can win worthwhile possession.
Maori's 22, close at hand. Paul Blake puts the ball into scrum. Fires it away to Wiley. That's Peter Jones waiting under it on halfway. Kurangi was up on him, but he bounced off him. Lane, good ruck by Maesteg. John Apsey to Phil Phillips. They freed Steve Brown, and here goes Donovan. Covering by Andy Baker, but Donovan got a foot for it, and it was lucky for the Maoris that Carl Baker, 20, was back there to cover the danger. That was a terrific ruck by Maesteg, which started it all, and Donovan keeping the ball alive at the end of his run just now. Andy Baker looking for space from the dropout. He's got it between Steve Brown and the man picking it up now, Peter Jones. He just finds touch. Reminder that 20 and 19 for the Maoris are Carl Baker and Bruce Hemmerer. 7, third man from the end of the line, Maya Nelson. That's the intriguing situation at the head of the Llinvia Valley. With just under 15 minutes of the match left. A line out on Maesteg's 10-metre line. Blake's pass to Wiley. Pokeri kicking back. Kurarangi is coming up, but it hasn't been timed well, and there's no chance of any advantage. Or touching goal. Pokeri's kicking not really in touch this afternoon. He weighted that too fully. Dropped a few passes too. I wonder if the bandage on the hand has anything to do with that. Ian Hall, dropout 22 for Maesteg. Tuoro waits. Makes a platform. Wiley receives from Blake. Keeps the ball alive. Nelson's gone back to try and cover. And seemed to knock on.
Well, it's emphasised again that Maesteg seem to be getting in amongst the Maoris now, and obviously they are very keen to do something with the ball, and possibly a little bit too impetuous. If they settle down and played it tight, it may be better for them.
This, it seems to me, is the only sector of the game where Maesteg have had to give best a little bit to the Maoris. They found the set scrums hard going, but they rucked and mauled well and have surprised the Maoris with the sternness of their resistance. Carl Baker trying to set something up down the narrow side. Bobby Llewellyn at the end of this line for Maesteg, hand in the air, hoping for a long throw, but Jeff Pope can't see him clearly. The sun is right in the hooker's eyes. There's the ball. Aims for Mike Griffiths, seemed to be barged by Rickett. That's Alan Lane's chip, half charged down. Boomed infield to Wiley, Pokeri, Victor Simpson, Steve Brown advancing. That's him. It's behind Andy Baker. It'll cross the goal line, will it? It stayed infield, and Baker has to collect and find touch. That's Richard Evans, Maesteg's front jumper at the lines out. He's competed well against Tuoro. They're two heavyweights. One's 19.5 stone, the other's over 20. That was Mike Griffiths, not quite timing a tap down. Offside given against the Maoris. And it's to be a kick at goal. That's the infringer, Maya Melsom. And Ian Hall will seek to punish the offence. Ian Hall, who put over the 2 penalties in the Maesteg total, but narrowly failed with his conversion attempt on Phil Phillips's exciting try. The Maori support at the southern end of the ground on the temporary seating. Their hearts must be in their mouths as Ian Hall prepares to try for 3 points. Again, Hall is wide, he's pulled it. And I'm sure that the president of the club, Windsor Major, will be disappointed at that. A kick that normally Hall would have put over with ease. The score then is 10-10 at the Llinvia Road ground on this birthday party of a game. Each side a try. 2 tries for the Maoris, 1 try for Maesteg. Good place kicking by the Old Parish to keep themselves in contention. On the left, the figure of number 8, worn by Wilson Lauder, who spends most of his time here these days helping Peter Williams with the coaching. To Wiley. It's behind Peter Jones. He leaves it to Steve Brown, the fullback, charged down by Pokeri. The Maori's got back into possession. He gives it to Tuoro. Himara takes up the running, and they get almost as far as the Maesteg goal line. Dangerous moments for Maesteg. Bush frees it. Peter Francis tries to get a boot to it, and is offside in so doing. Well, there may have been a hand on the ground, and that could be a vital spot for Maesteg to concede a penalty.
Maybe we'll have an opportunity to see in that, but I thought Maesteg were treated a little bit harshly there by the referee. It seemed from where I was that the ball was already out as the Maesteg forwards tried to drive through.
Number 12 in the foreground. It was lightning fast following up by Pokeri, and it was he really who forced Maesteg to make mistakes.
Yes, and of course this is the sort of thing that you have to concentrate at this level when you're playing against players of that caliber, that one little mistake can lead to that sort of movement.
Well, I don't think it could be claimed that the place kicking has been distinguished this afternoon. This man Baker has kicked some poor shots, some poor attempts. Can Andy Baker now put the Maoris back into the lead? He's missed. And that's a long-faced expression on the face of the Maori fullback. Another miss by him. Ian Hall, dropout 22 for the Old Parish. The Maoris with the big figure of Paul Tuoro, number 5, trying to make it safe, but Maesteg robbed them well. And Ian Hall finds touch. It certainly seems that the New Zealand Maoris have found life here at Maesteg's round much tougher than they'd bargained for. They've been given a really rousing struggle. The score is 10-10. 8 minutes of the match remain. Intriguing situation. You feel that it could go either way, and a well-struck penalty could decide it. That's Pokeri's big up and under, which Peter Jones can't take. Victor Simpson is there very rapidly. This is danger again for Maesteg inside their 22. Milsom has the ball, and it can be expected that the Maoris will get the put in at the set scrummage, which will be about 15 meters from their opponent's line. Certainly a good platform for the Maoris to launch an attack here, an attempt to seize back the lead. That's the first job done for them by their hooker O'Carroll. It comes out to Wiley. They miss Pokeri. Simpson puts the ball to Woodman. He knocked on. Here's John R.F.C. breaking away, trying to dummy Baker. Releasing the ball for Alan Lane to use and Donovan to kick to touch, but the referee has seen the forward movement of the ball. There they are, the heroes of the Maesteg front row. Jeff Pope, nearer to us, Peter Francis. David Edwards with the fair hair on the loose head side. They can't do anything about that strike, though. Carl Baker picks up, serves it to Maya Milsom, who drives almost as far as Maesteg's 22. That's a good maul on the move by the Maoris, and little Paul Blake, 9, waits for possession.
It'll be interesting to note whether Billy Bush calls for another back row move here. He obviously realizes that by moving the ball he's not getting much change, and keep the ball on the blind side as he tried in that last scrum.
Little Paul Blake from Hawke's Bay feeds the ball. The pickup is by Carl Baker. Releases. A fall by Bruce Hemera. Penalty to Maesteg for offside, probably against the giant Paul Tuoro. And how much spirit have the Old Parish got? Will they run the ball, or will they prudently kick down the line? Ian Hall with the kick. Accurate one, which has eased his forwards up the touchline beyond their 10-metre line. Ian Hall, the dependable standoff. Paul Tuoro with behind him Bush. Little conference. The giant Rickett, 6'7", who hasn't had an outstanding afternoon. Mike Griffiths has had the better of the midline exchanges against the tall Maori. Borovic won that, but Peter Francis was through quickly on little Blake. This is Pokari putting Victor Simpson into space. That's a dummy. Kurarangi can't take a difficult pass. He has knocked on. Still the Maoris, as they were against Cardiff on Saturday, up to plenty of tricks behind the scrum, but those tricks not having complete polish on them, and they're going wrong. The timing is not always right. Penalty this time against the Maori pack.
And that penalty, I'm sure, will not be the sort of decision that the Maoris would like, because it was obviously for talking, as he pointed to Billy Bush, the captain, and warned him for probably trying to dictate the pattern of the match to the referee.
The ball is put out over the grandstand, and we'll have to wait a few seconds for the arrival of another one. It certainly has to be emphasised, that situation, with 3 minutes of the match remaining, that Maesteg have covered themselves in glory, whatever the result now. They've held the Maoris, they've given as good as they've got. They're even in with a chance of snatching a win, or they were until that penalty award went against them. The Maoris driven to play for safety. They bring up Andy Baker to kick for position down the line. Well, a mistake in the Maesteg defence. One of those two men, Lane or Brown, didn't call clearly, and the result was a mistake. The Maoris come down to threaten the 22 line of the Old Parish. Two minutes only remaining. Borovic brought it down for the Maoris. Wiley starts running. Victor Simpson takes an awkward pass. He gives it back to Wiley, and the forwards drive the little first 5/8 forward towards Maesteg's 22 line. 7 is there, Milsom. 5, Rickett. 20, Baker. The whistle's gone. This could be a dangerous set piece. There's room, look, on both sides. And one wonders here whether Jeff Pope, we glimpsed him there in the middle, will go for a strike against the head. He did, but he didn't time it. Protection for Blake. Is Pokari going to drop at goal? It's charged down anyway. Peter Jones collects it. David Edwards was there, not offside. It had come off a Maori player. That's Pokari putting the ball high in the air and out of play. Pokari and the other Maoris have found that life is hard in a typical Welsh rugby valley. The crowd urging Maesteg to hold on now for the draw, which they've more than earned with this afternoon's gallantry. It's a line out just outside their 22. Robbie Llewellyn has possession. Turns, takes on the Maori pack. Milsom, number 7, challenging him. Only seconds of proper time remain at this set scrum outside the 22 of Maesteg. Ian Hall puts the ball away, and